What's going on, everybody? Paddle and Fin has got a meetup going down October 16th through 18th at Eastport Marina and Resort in Alpine, Tennessee, which falls right on Dale Hollow. What we're going to be doing is just hanging out, fishing. Depending on the number of people that show up and the interest, we may do a small tournament. We will have some stuff to give away. Saturday evening, we're going to do a hangout and a little barbecue action. We'll have food for everybody. If you're looking for lodging, you could stay right at the resort. It's $50 per person per night. And what you get is your own personal bedroom on a houseboat, luxury houseboat, courtesy Eastport Marina. That's a special price they gave us to lend to our listeners. If you want more info on the resort, you can go to eastport.info and their website will pop up there. You'll see all the houseboats and things like that. A majority of our hosts are going to be there, and we would love to spend some time on the water with you.
This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
You're listening to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast with your hosts Ryan Milford and Sean Lavery. Welcome back to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm Ryan, got my co-host Sean.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And tonight we have a very special guest. One of the biggest names in tournaments for kayak bass fishing right now. We got Mr. Rus Snyders in here. Welcome to the show, Russ.
Hey, thanks for having me on, you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, man, pretty much everybody that's been fishing out of a kayak for a while, or definitely everybody in the tournament scene knows who you are. But for the people that may not know who you are, if you don't mind real quick, go through like who you are and all that.
Okay. I'm from California originally, grew up there, started fishing at a young age. Both fresh and saltwater. Got into tournament fishing probably around 18, 19 years old, and tournament fishing out of a bass boat, and did a little bit of guiding. Eventually moved out to where I'm at now, which is Nashville, Tennessee, and just got into kayak fishing about 3 or 4 years ago. Just fell in love with it. Just the community of people is great, and just being able to, a lot of advantages, being able to get into places you can't normally get in with a bass boat, and cost of expenses and all that. So it's been great getting into the kayak fishing scene, and met a lot of great friends too. So
awesome. Now, what was it that made you make the switch from the boat to the kayak?
Mostly just the cost of having a boat. I was having to work so hard just to maintain those expenses of the insurance, the gas, the registration, and the biggest thing, just the cost of repairs and stuff, and just added stress of having to tow it and all that. And when I moved out to Tennessee, I was actually doing a lot of trips in my kick boats on a lot of these rivers and stuff around here. Tennessee, especially Middle Tennessee, has a lot of great rivers for smallmouth. And I take these kick boats out, and didn't really, when I first moved out here, didn't really know a lot of people. Eventually started, I found these Facebook groups for kayak fishermen, and a lot of them were fishing these same rivers that I was. I was kind of trying to meet friends through there, and eventually saw some posts about these kayak tournaments and stuff like that as well on these Facebook pages. So one thing led to another, jumped into the few tournaments just to kind of get back into it. At that point, I hadn't probably fished tournaments for about 5 years or so. It was fun getting back into competing, and like I said, the biggest thing was just becoming a part of this great community of people.
Now, do you ever come down to Duck River and fish?
Duck River, yeah, I've been out there quite a few times. Good
oh
spot.
Man, you got to take me out there sometime.
Where are you living? Are you down like Columbia area or?
Chapel Hill.
Temple Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Duck River is great, especially in the winter. We're coming up on the good time to go out there. I don't do as well there in the summertime, but come winter times, you don't get a lot of fish, but a good chance of getting one of those, 4-pound plus smallmouth out of there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've lived here for, 10 years or more, like in this area, and never really fished it. Maybe go fish from the bank or something for a little bit, but I've never really fished it, and I didn't realize how great it was for smallmouth. I didn't realize how great smallmouth were because I just really started fishing for them like this year, and it was this year I started fishing there. It was because we had Josh Stewart on here last year, and he was telling me about it.
Yeah, he goes. I've been out there with him. I think I've been out. Yeah, I've been out there with him at least once on the duck one time. But yeah, me and him fish a lot of the same little stretches. The great thing about the duck is there is a lot of access points, and you can even go online and type in Duck River access areas, and it'll give a whole list of all the access points. So you can find a float, and some stretches are better than others. It's a pretty good sized river. Some of the little tributaries coming in can be really good too.
Yeah,
but
see, I think my biggest issue with Duck River is I don't have anybody to float with, so I need a float partner, Russ. So.
Yeah, I'll do. I mean, once these tournaments come to an end, that's what I mean. I'll be spending a lot of time getting out there on the rivers, and yeah, that's what I really love doing. Come winter time, and when I first got out here, I used to actually I'd bring just this beat up old bike, and I'd actually go to the takeout where I'm going to take out at, and I'd lock my bike up to like a telephone pole or a tree or something like that. And then when I'd float with my kick boat, I'd, do about a 5 to 8 mile float. And then, I'd lock up my kick boat with that same bike lock and ditch my rods and stuff in the bushes so nobody took them, and put the rest of the stuff in my backpack, and I'd bike back to my truck. And yeah, get some exercise while you're at it too. A couple times I get chased by dogs though. That's never fun.
I might actually know where you were getting chased at, because there's on where I've been putting in at, every time you go there, these 2 dogs that just sit right there beside the road,
waiting.
They'll scare the crap out of you because you won't really see them, or they'll just be laying there like they're just chilling, and then all of a sudden they're just coming at you and think you can hit them or something.
Oh, it's happened quite a few times. But yeah, one time on the Buffalo and one time on the Collins River. Yeah, one time I couldn't even get up this hill because I was going up a hill, and there's a whole pack of them came out at me, and I had to use my bike like as a shield. Eventually a truck was coming up the hill. I flagged them down. I'm like, hey, there's a bunch of dogs. I'm trying to ride my bike back to my truck. There's a bunch of dogs here. So he let me get in, and he was a fisherman actually, so I gave him a couple of hand-tied jigs as a thank you for doing that. But
that's awesome. But yeah, man, been wanting to get you on here, and one of the things that I really like to learn from you is how to break down water, because it seems like everywhere you go, you can put you on any body of water in the country, it seems like, and you're going to come out in the top of the pack somewhere. So you're obviously doing something right with figuring out where the fish are, where the bigger fish are. So we need to learn that. I'm not even sure what do we. I guess you start with like map study, or
yeah, definitely. I'll start with maps. I'll check all the satellite images that I can, whether it's Google Earth, Google Maps, and like Apple Maps. I think are like the 3 main ones. And the thing is, it's also with Google Earth. You have to do it on the computer, though. You can't do that on your phone. But if you go on a computer and use Google Earth, you can go into the archived data, like all the, from the different years. So you can find a year if you're trying to look for, the water when it's at a lower level, so you can see the exposed, rocks or what, whatever the exposed shoreline is. Sometimes I'm looking for images like that. Other times, I'm trying to find images that are, right in the middle of summer, where I can see where like the thickest, like where the vegetation grows at a lot of times. So going into that archive data on the Google Earth, like I said, I wish you could do it on your phone, but you can't. Maybe one of these days you can. But if you go on your computer, you can do that. That's a big part of it. And another thing that I do is, I'll take my Humminbird Helix 7. I have it in a pod, so I'll take the whole pod out and put it by the computer. And if I go on Google Earth and see like offshore rock piles or a little ledge or something like that, I'll actually go on to my fish finder, my GPS there, and mark a bunch of waypoints. Some are like specific ones. Some are more just like a general waypoint to just point out the area or a launch, or so I'll transfer those waypoints onto the fish finder, so I don't have to so I have some fresh stuff. Just as I'm out there, I can say, okay, here's one, just kind of checking those things off the box. And so I'm gonna say, another thing also is on Google Maps, not Google Earth, but Google Maps. You can actually leave waypoints. So I'll go into my Google Maps and I'll mark all the boat ramps. You put little flags on everything with the boat ramps, and then same thing, kind of generalized areas or points of interest. I'll point that out as well. It's most of the kind of pre-tournament. And besides that, watching some YouTube videos, or trying to find out previous tournament results, or whether you go, especially the FLW tournament archives, they'll have like the top 10 top 10 guys, what they use, what lures they use, and just a lot of that stuff. And then when you go into the tackle shops and stuff like that, just listen to what some of the locals are saying. Sometimes that can be good info, sometimes it can be not so good. But I listen to it all and kind of take some of it with a grain of salt, but other things you can put in the back of your mind and can be useful to help when it comes to info from. Oops, cancel. Keeps popping up. Keep getting a window popping up. But yeah, so that's I guess that's how I go into it. And then the first day I'm out there, I typically want to fish an area where I can hit a bunch of different types of cover, whether it's fishing grass and rock and just as many things as possible. And then once I kind of get an idea, it's like, all right, well, they're not really hitting on docks, or they're not on the rock, but they are like an offshore grass or something like that. Then once then I'll kind of going into it the next day, I'll kind of either look to duplicate it or find, similar areas. Just kind of adjust as I go. It all depends on the scenario as far as which day do I go to which places. Sometimes I'll find an area that has a concentration of fish, and if I feel like it's a tournament winning area, I'll stop fishing other areas and just keep expanding on that area. And then even if I know certain things are working, I'll stop using those things and try to find different ways of catching them in there, and just try to have as many different ways of catching fish in one general area.
Now, whenever you say an area, I feel like that's kind of be dependent on the person what an area means. Are you talking about like a 20-foot spot? Or are you talking about a quarter mile or a mile?
Yeah, something where I can run, where I can run and gun during a kayak tournament. I don't, if I have to run from one area, if I got to go a mile to like the next spot, like sometimes I'll do that. But, it's even better if you can, have a big cove where it's maybe half a mile long. There's 4 different things you can do in that half-mile stretch. That's more ideal. But not to say that I haven't, there's been plenty of times where I've, do one thing in one place and then go 2 miles or something like that and waste half hour, getting there, and then switch it up to something different, but yeah, that's, you want to be as efficient as possible. And, by doing that, you want to make as many casts as possible and spend the least amount of time, paddling and traveling from one place to another. But sometimes, it's inevitable that you're going to have to spend some time doing that. But
what do you generally navigate on the water with? Both your phone and the maps on your fish finder, or do you
usually just maps on the fish finder, unless it's like satellite image where I need to see some satellite imagery, then I'll have to get out my phone. I know some of the new new Lake Master, like version 3. I had the version 2, but I think the version 3 on the Lake Masters, you can have satellite imagery on it too, which would be nice.
Definitely. But it makes sense if you can find a spot that has, those 4 different things, all in one. It'll cut down on your travel time. So that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah. And sometimes some of those things, I'll find an area and I'll be catching a fish, catching fish on a frog in the grass or something like that. But I'll look for like the deeper ledges or areas for them to push out to or something like that. I might not even catch any fish there, but I guess it's just time on the water. But what, you kind of know, okay, these fish are shallow. Like look for those areas they're going to push out to, and find different ways of fishing it. And even if you're not catching them then, there's been plenty of times that the tournament, the conditions change, and sure enough, all of a sudden I start catching them that way.
I think I find it hard to leave fish once I find them, but you want to find as many spots as you can.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is just timing. With a lot of lakes, is the fish will even be there, and it's just finding that 1 hour, 2 hour window where they actually start turning on. So while you're pre-fishing, I always pay attention to what time of the day I caught that fish on that spot, and pay attention to the shadows, and whether it's low light condition or bright sun or all that stuff.
Do you take into account any of that feeding time or anything like that, or
the feeding time with
the salooner? Is that what it is?
No, I've never done that.
Okay.
I know some people are really big believers. I've never really gotten into it and finding the lunar tables and the key windows, and I just more, I think
you go by time of day,
temperature and wind and stuff like that play, in my mind, play a bigger part. Not to say that I don't pay attention to like the moon, like if there's a full moon, especially this time of year, or like late summer, fall, like August, September, October. If there's a full moon this time of year and it's really hot out during the day, and it's if it's calm and clear at night, those fish will be much tougher to catch. During the day, they will feed at night when you get nights like that. So stuff like that I pay attention to. Mostly just during the full moon, if it's clear and if it's hot out. If it's overcast a bunch, or if it's kind of windy and cool, seems to not make as much difference. But on those hot, calm days, late in the summer and early into the fall, they get tough to catch during the day if there's a full moon at night.
That's interesting. So with fall being right here on top of us, like where do you, from what you've noticed, can't get it out. What are the patterns that you've seen, like where fish, you can generally find fish? What lures are they usually biting on, like from your experience?
The fall's one time of year where they literally can be doing anything. They're eventually, you can get them main body or backs of creek. Generally as the temperature drops, the bait fish are going to start migrating to the backs of the creeks, and the bass are going to follow. And but that's not to say there's not going to be fish still out in the main body as well. It's fall's just a time of year where you can really, it's just no saying whether they're going to be deep, they could be shallow. They can, most of the time they're feeding on bait fish. I'd say that's the time of year where shad patterns probably dominate the most, but not to say, you could still get them on a jig or on a, bluegill, some sort of bluegill imitating swim bait or something, like swim jig, something like that too. So, but as a general rule, they're going to, as the water temperature drops, they're going to start moving to the backs of the creeks. Top water's always a good bet. Fishing around grass is always good. Grass this time of year is starting to die off in a lot of areas more and more. So a lot of it's just, finding that healthy grass, or, the right type of grass. I'm going to be heading to Gunnersville here this week and fishing the national championship for the KBF National Championship is next week. That's going to be a big grass lake, and it's going to be getting a lot of pressure, it sounds like, too. But the nice thing about fishing lakes in the fall, when there's a lot of grass, is there's a lot of places for them to hide, and there's a lot of different ways of fishing grass, whether it's chatterbait or lipless or top water over the top of it. Frogs obviously are really good right now. You can punch it. So yeah, it depends on what lake you're at as far as what works best in the fall, but generally you're going to be wanting to find the bait, the concentrations of bait, and find a pattern as far as where that bait's moving. It's just a matter of figuring out how to catch them, whether it's some sort of it could be anything really. But
when you follow the fall transition around, like you've obviously fished some different parts of the country. Obviously, you fished probably California in the fall, and then south in the fall. I don't know how much up my way you get, but is it different for those different areas, or would you say it's all relatively similar?
The one thing about at least this part of the country in the southeast is I don't know if there's another place that I've ever seen anywhere in the country where the bass will get as shallow as they do here. You'll get into areas where you're in the backs of these creeks, and there are these flats that just run out, for hundreds of yards, and it's only a foot or two deep. And when I'm out west in California, a lot of other places in the country, they won't get in the area. I mean, they'll get shallow, but there has to be that deep water access close by, and they'll push up on a little shallow flat. But, this part of the country in the south here, they really can get back in some super shallow stuff, even if there isn't any deep water access at all. Inches of water, areas where in those type of areas, bass boats have a hard time fishing too when it's that shallow.
I was just going to say, it sounds like Kayak Heaven.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's what I spend a lot of time doing, is finding areas that aren't going to get beat up by the bass boats near as much. And a lot of kayakers have a lot of success doing that. In a good majority of these tournaments, I'd say. I guess some of the other differences.
I got a place in.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna try to elaborate on some other differences, I guess, but that's probably the biggest thing. I kind of lost my train of thought. You go ahead and ask the next one.
I was just gonna say, like, I had that gave me an awesome place in mind to where probably be pretty hot right about now with fall coming on. That Back Creek area. But I can't go fish it because I got tournaments. Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking after this one tournament. I'll be, I'll have about a month off before the Hobie TOC there in Knoxville. So I'm finally going to get to do some fun fishing, go hit some of these rivers and stuff. It's a good time of year. Probably go out to the Buffalo River. It's probably the best time of year to be out there, I think.
Awesome. So, well, hey, if you're going to be off, in October 16th through the 18th, we're having the Paddle and Fin
Dale
meetup.
Hollow, right? I was thinking about doing it. Jail.
For real?
Awesome.
Yeah, he told me about it. I was thinking, yeah. So I'm not 100%. I told my buddy Adam about it too, and we were both like, all right, it sounds like fun. We love fishing out there. So yeah, me and Adam might join you guys for that.
By Adam, are you talking about Adam Reiser?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. That'd be awesome if y'all made it out there.
Hopefully. No problems. But I asked him, he said, yeah, I don't got nothing going on. I don't have anything either. And I said, it sounded like a good time. So. Yeah,
I actually, I met him briefly. KBF Ten, the 4x4 events out there. We were in a 4x4 championship together.
Cool.
And I met him briefly, but we didn't get to talk a whole lot or anything.
He's one of my travel partners, probably the main travel partner, I'd say, for a lot of these tournaments. And getting to know him's been great, man. He's a solid guy, and it's part of KBF Ten, which is the same club that got me into kayak fishing. But yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you were lagging a little bit on me, so I started talking over you. I didn't mean to. I was gonna say, like, you were like Angler of the Year for like 3 years in a row, weren't you, with KBF Ten?
First 3 years, yeah, that I fished it. Not this year though. Nick Hood got it
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. But you didn't do many events with them this year, did you?
I think I only did
I don't
four.
remember.
Four, I want to say. Yeah. So I needed to do one more for that, but I had one good finish and a couple. It's a tough group. It's pretty pretty lucky for me to this first few years there to have some of the finishes I did, and things definitely
I
went
don't know
my
how
way.
much of it was luck, but
There's something I'm telling you. I don't think I lost one. It's just, I don't know, in the last few years it's been crazy, but yeah, I didn't lose any fish that would have hurt me in the tournament or or any of that. And some of them I just barely won, so it's always a little bit of luck involved.
And I will say that there are a lot of good fishermen in that group. Like
Josh Stewart, Craig Dye was in it a couple years. Michael Ernst, a lot of Josh Sharp. He's another younger guy. He's been tearing it up lately.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. A lot of people that could probably move to the national level stuff that don't really chase it like you do. But
it's a bit of a commitment for sure. Just the time on the road and time. It's not easy to. Yeah, it's a lot of work, I guess, but it's fun when it all works out.
Yeah, I'm actually. I've been trying to do the CKT Cumberland Kayak Trail. I've been trying to do some events with them. Josh, we actually had one yesterday. Josh was out there on that one.
Josh
Stewart.
He won yesterday?
No, he was out there. No, he didn't win.
Okay. It was on the Stones River, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded like that would be a cool one. I've never done like an actual like small, creek or river kayak tournament yet. I was kind of wanting to do that. Something going on already. But it says they got a good turnout too. It's decent, 25 or so.
It was 26 people, but it was kind of cool. First place, second place, fourth place, and big fish all came from the same boat ramp.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And was it up in the skinny water with like the rapids, or was it more down towards where it entered into the lake?
Nope. It was in the little bit deeper part, like 20-foot sections and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's fun up there. It's a good time of year to fish up there too. Percy Priest has been a fun lake. I think this year was a little bit tougher. Last couple years, had 2 or 3 years there, was doing really well. I feel like this year kind of, I didn't go out there a bunch. What I saw from the tournament results looks like it was a little bit of a decline. I think it got hit a lot harder too because of that's probably why it got hammered with all the boats out there this year.
Yeah, with the whole COVID thing, man, you go out there and every single spot at the boat ramp was taken up. You had to park in the grass or whatever. Everybody was out there fishing.
That's what I heard.
But there was some pretty tough events, just like the MLF style tournament they had. Every fish over 12 inches counts, and winner only had like 5 or 6 fish.
Really?
It's crazy.
It can be good, man. I've been out there and just, like I said, last couple years before that, some great days. I only had a handful. Been traveling around so much, I didn't get to get out there as much. But yeah, like I said, I heard it's been kind of tough year. But hopefully next year it'll get better there.
Yeah. But you don't need to fish them though, because I don't need any extra pressure. Unless you let me come with you, let me tag along.
We'll do a river trip. I get some time. I say I'll probably be up there at Dale Hollow, but maybe out the Duck or so. It's Chapel Hill. I've been through Chapel Hill. Is that upriver of Columbia or downriver?
Upriver.
Okay. So
gotcha. You know where Henry Horton State Park is?
Yeah.
It's right there.
Gotcha. I've done the stretch above Henry Horton State Park where I take out there. There's another little family-owned campground or something you you could pay to go in there, and
Yeah,
it was a fun little flip.
river rats.
No, it was just like a small. There was just like a sign that said like drive to the house to pay. Pay like
Oh,
a few dollars to get access. And there's like some old lady that you like walk into this old lady's house and like pay her like $5 to be able to go through the gate.
okay.
But
Yeah,
I hope I didn't give
I
anybody's
think I
spot
know-
away. But it was, I don't know. I caught a few fish. It wasn't nothing crazy.
yeah. Well, I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't think they do that anymore.
Really?
Or if
I don't
they
know.
do,
That was
it's kinda
about 5 years
hush.
ago when I went. So, but yeah, I'll have to get out there. Like I said, they're coming up on. I like the Buffalo River this time of year, and then once it gets into winter, that Duck River gets really good. So I'm looking forward. I've probably only done like a couple river, as far as local river trips this year. I've probably only done a couple. That used to be. There was a few years there. That's about all I did.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get out there, man. But yeah, just to make you commit, guys, Rus Snyders going to be at Dale Hollow, so make sure you come.
Put the pressure on.
He is going to be there.
I should. We see. I don't know
if
what would
you're able to
someone would
make it,
have to
that'd be-
come up, but I got it planned. But something comes up unexpectedly, I guess. But I'm gonna try to make it.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think if I feel like there's so many more questions that could be asked about breaking down water, but they're like blanking me right now. So,
How much do you rely on your electronics to find fish once you're out there, or do you just go to the spots where you found and start experimenting around, or do you actually actively search out fish on your fish finder?
Yeah, no, it depends. There's times when I really, especially when I'm fishing deep water, that's all I'm looking at is my fish finder, and I'm trying to pinpoint specific fish or dropping down, on fish, the drop shot, or then, I'm pretty much glued to the thing. And there's other times where, let's say I'm, fishing grass, Lake Gunnersville, fishing big grass flats where you're not necessarily going to see the fish in the grass, but a lot of times I'm still using that fish finder, whether it's like I'm trying to find outside edges of grass. I'll use the side imaging a lot and just look out to the side, and that way I know, okay, I'm staying out about 20 feet from that outer edge of that hard grass line, and if I'm concentrating on the edge, and then I can continuously kind of use that to see where that edge is if I can't see it visually. So yeah, or just using side imaging also for isolated pieces of cover, whether it's rock pile or hard bottom areas or wood, or I use my down imaging a lot if I'm fishing brush piles, trying to see fish in brush piles. So and I'm not. There's a lot of other kayak anglers that are a lot better than me. I understand their electronic settings. I still got a lot to learn. I don't, I'm more of a shallow water guy which, I still use my electronics, but I'm not like a deep water specialist or something like that who really has those electronics dialed in. I definitely have a lot to learn. And even since kayak fishing, I feel like I spend so much more time now fishing shallow. When I was in a bass boat, and it's about half and half. I do a lot of deeper water fishing. Maybe not half, maybe a third. Probably I always like fishing shallow, but probably spent a third of the time fishing deeper water, and now it's like maybe 20% of the time, like 80% of the time I'm fishing really shallow water stuff where I'm not, trying to look for individual fish.
What do you consider shallow generally?
Like 8 to 10 feet or less.
Okay. So there's lakes around me where that's as deep as it gets, but then there's also the lakes that get crazy deep. So
yeah, I'd say 8 feet or less. I'd say.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
what's your favorite technique to throw?
Favorite technique? Probably a swim jig or flipping. I'd say now. I love fishing top water as far as just pure excitement of seeing fish, coming out of the water and grabbing the frog or a buzzbait or a spook or something like that. Yeah, I really like doing that, but I'd say swim jig or flipping, something where you can really make a lot of casts, a lot of short casts where you're just trying to hit little targets and stuff. I'd say I really enjoy doing that and have a good idea of how to kind of visually break down pieces of structure and understand where the ambush points are going to be, or where that cast should be made, or what angle I need to retrieve my lure on whether it's a piece of wood or a dock or a grass line or anything like that. I feel like what my strength is as far as fishing style.
Now, I've got a theory. So my theory really means nothing. So, um, but tell me if I'm on to something or if I'm completely wrong here. My theory is top water fishing is more of a fun fishing technique. I feel like it's not as effective for tournament fishing. Now,
I don't know. It
am
depends on
I
the
wrong
lake.
here?
No, I think it's a way of getting big fish. I'd say it's definitely a way of tournament fishing. If you're going to catch 5 fish on top water, they're going to be a lot bigger than if you were to catch only 5 fish on a shaky head or something like that. The average size, top water are going to produce usually larger than average size fish. So I fish a lot. I fish a lot of buzz baits and a lot of frogs, some spooks and poppers. Lately, it feels like I haven't been. Yeah, I throw a little gunfish for like schooling fish. This time of year, that's a big thing, is finding those fish that are schooling and busting those little shad. And they could be really tough to catch, especially when they key in on that really smaller bait. But firing a little top water through that, especially a gunfish, is probably one of my favorites for that. But yeah, no, I definitely think top water is a way of good strategy when it comes to tournament fishing, especially this time of year. Hold on, you give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
No worries.
But yeah, I guess my theory is debunked. I just feel like I don't know. I guess it's just my personal experience. I personally haven't caught a lot of numbers or like big fish on top water that I kind of felt like that, at least for me, that top water has been as effective as fishing somewhere else in the water column. And I don't to me I guess I kind of feel like if you fish down in the water but still kind of high in the water column, you're going to catch fish that are lower and still get the attention of those fish that might hit top water.
I think with the top water is it triggers something in a fish to think that it's trapped, because they can't go. It's like they're against the wall, more or less. Where if it's in the middle of the water column and they go to chase it, they can go left, right. They can go a lot more directions. Where when something's right on the surface, a lot of times that's what triggers that fish to bite. Or if that same lure was like a foot or two under the water, they wouldn't mess with it. And it's all just depends on what they're feeding on and what they're liking for that day. Sometimes using a jerk bait or something right under the water is the way to go. But I know having that wall above them, which is the air, I guess, the surface of the water, and not being able to travel that way, definitely it's a way where they feel trapped and triggers something in the fish. It's like the same thing when, if there's a lot of times fish will use seawalls to feed on as well, where they're pushing bait up against that seawall, because it's just, you can be fishing. You can be fishing a seawall and you're making your cast like 2 or 3 or 4 feet out from that seawall, and you won't get a single bite. and it has to be like 6 inches. You have to get parallel and have it 6 inches from that seawall, and that's what triggers, having it close like that is what triggers those fish to eat it, because they feel that it's just something in them say, oh, it's pinned, it can't go anywhere, I got it. So
what generally influences your decision whether to throw like a buzzbait where you're gonna do a longer retrieve versus or a I guess maybe a quicker retrieve versus a spook or a popper where you're gonna be slowing it down?
I just kind of mix it up and let the fish, I feel like they're eating top water. It's the time of year where I should be throwing top water. Obviously it depends on the cover I'm fishing. If I'm fishing a lot of grass, I'm going to be fishing a buzzbait or a frog. If I'm, fishing around laydowns or something like that, still maybe a buzzbait if the laydowns are thick. If it's a little more open, maybe I'll try a little popper or a spook, something like that. And really just letting the fish tell you what they want. Sometimes maybe I'm using a spook and I'm walking it kind of slow and I'm letting it pause a long time, not getting anything. Then all of a sudden I start reeling back, and then something comes to hit it just like that. It's going to tell me, okay, I need to fish something that's moving faster. That's going to get them to react to it. And maybe I'll fish a buzzbait. And then same thing, maybe I'll be fishing a buzz or a whopper plopper or something like that. And I'm reeling it along, and all of a sudden I just stop it, and I'm, itching my back or whatever, and I get distracted, and all of a sudden 10 seconds later it blows up on it. Then I might switch to something more like a popper or something where long pauses maybe are going to be better. So, but
Makes sense.
And it changes throughout the day too. Sometimes in the morning they want it really slow, and then as it heats up, they want it fast. And it's just kind of listening to the fish and seeing what the signs are telling you to do.
See, that made me just kind of think, yesterday in that tournament, I caught 2 of my fish kind of out in the middle when I noticed them busting on shad. But after that too, I still saw them busting, but I couldn't get any bites. It made me think if I had like a shad pattern popper or something where I could, just kind of ease it through there. I wonder if I would have got some bites off that.
Try gunfish. Usually when they're schooling like that, I want something that's going to move fast, but it's going to move kind of erratic too. That's why a lot of times like a fluke is something that's really good. But gunfish, a Lucky Craft gunfish, it's almost like a narrower kind of spook with a little bit of a cupped face, and you can really get it, walking at a fast speed. Where a spook, it's kind of going like that. But the gunfish, you could do really tight. Yeah, there you go. That's like my favorite bait for when they're busting. And I'll reel it back. Or even like those pencil poppers. We were just down at Lake Lanier, and they were busting fish, busting bait, and those herring, on the surface. And a lot of things wouldn't catch them. And what was working was either two things: either a Seabill swimmer, and you cast it out there and just burn it back as fast as you could. You see them busting, and you had to just burn it through them. Either that or like a pencil popper. And same thing, you're walking it a couple times and just reeling it, and then walking it a couple times and reeling it. The walking it, kind of gets them interested. They start looking at it, but if you keep doing that, they're just going to go away. But once it starts reeling and getting away from them, that's when that's what triggers them. So a lot of times busting fish, sometimes it's not the case, but most times if they're busting bait, you want to get a reaction out of them, fish it, a little bit faster. Same thing, I use like a little white swim jig too. That's another good technique. A little 1/4 ounce with a little dipper, just like a little 3 or 4 inch paddle tail, and just burning it and pop, 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 burn, pop, 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 really fast. It's usually what I do for busting fish in the fall.
Yeah, I might have to actually give topwater a try in the tournament scene.
I would recommend it.
I tell you what, last year the whopper plopper was my thing, and this year I haven't caught a single fish on topwater just because I've been so hooked on other things. And it would be nice to get at least one topwater fish before the end of the year.
It's time of year. It's the best time of year for topwater, probably, I'd say.
But when do you stop throwing topwater?
I've caught them all the way into December. If you get like warm days in the wintertime, they'll still hit a topwater certain situations. But as a general rule, like I don't know, like mid 50. If it gets below like 55, depending on what it is too. Spotted bass and smallmouth, probably more like 55. Largemouth, maybe like 60. You know, when it gets below 60.
Are you talking air temp or water temp?
Oh, water temp.
Oh,
Yeah, but I've had them. Like
Yeah,
I said,
'cause
I've had them. I've had warm days where it's probably, I've caught largemouth when the water's 50 degrees, and it's just like one of those kind of warm 70-degree winter days, and the sun's out, and they're, just kind of hanging out underneath a piece of wood, and you're just walking a spook really slow. They'll come up and get it still, but it has to be the right kind of days.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just wondering for, next weekend I got a tournament here local, and we're supposed to have that cold front come in this week. So I wasn't sure when that cutoff was for topwater, or how effective it would be.
It's still going to work through the end. I mean, a cold right during a cold front. It's hard to tell this time of year. They're busting. If that cold front could trigger them, they want that water temp to start dropping. For them to start moving back in those creeks. I'd imagine it's got to be still close to 7, like probably 70 or something right now. So it's got a ways to cool off.
Yesterday on Stones River, unless my fish finder was reading wrong.
You got rainfall up the creeks back there. Main Lake would be different. Okay. It was colder, probably, right?
Yeah, it was like 67.
Okay. Yeah, if you get, as you go up the creeks, even in the summertime, you could find like 68, 69, 70-degree water, even when it's 100 degrees outside, if you get like those spring-fed creeks and stuff. So they always, but Main Lake, yeah, I guess it was probably low 70s, but should be good. Once it gets to about 60, that's when they really start. This cold front pushing through might shock them at first. It's hard to guess, but I think it might be a little tough at first. But then once it kind of stabilizes and that water temp stays in those like low 60s, should make that's usually what you want in the fall. It's usually when that fall feed starts happening.
Well, I hope nobody that plans on fishing that tournament Saturday listens to this episode.
What lake is it? What lake is it at?
Williamsport.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that tournament's there.
This is actually like the first, I believe.
Adam
CKT.
Reiser, he just invited me to go there today. He just went there. You should hit him up, maybe. I think it's Williamsport. It's one of those state lakes. Yeah. They got big ones in there, though.
Oh, yeah. They got they got Florida strain bass in there. So, I've seen some 10 pounds that get pulled out of there. Williamsport, they'll post the pictures of big fish whenever they see them.
Wow.
Is it TWRA that manages that lake? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's it's pretty cool area. It's basically, several, for people that don't know, it's several large ponds, yeah, that's basically what it is. You don't have to worry about like winter pool in the winter. It stays the same level. That's one thing I really like about it. Wintertime, you can still go there and fish, and don't have to worry, because I have no idea how to fish with winter pool. Yeah, it really messes me up.
It gets tough whenever that water's dropping. Those fish start pushing off the banks a lot of times. Start suspending. On those lakes where they draw them down, it can be tough. Yeah, I don't know about Williamsport. Should be pretty steady. It's probably a good time of year to be out there. There's 10 pounders somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to be a good tournament. I think there's going to be a lot of numbers in this tournament, and hopefully, I'm one of them with a lot of numbers. Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah. Got some big baits. Just go swing for the fence.
Yeah. All right, I'm not going to press my luck. But, yeah, Sean, did you have anything else you want to ask? I mean, we got one of the best kayak fishermen in the country.
I know, right?
On
I
here.
feel like
What we gotta ask what we want to ask while we have him on here.
I'm just drawing a blank right now, but I'm trying to think of what else I would ask. What are you fishing out of? I wanted to ask you that earlier. I forgot.
I'm fishing out of a Wilderness Systems Attack 120. It's been my boat for the last since I got into it. That's my first kayak I got.
Nice.
I also have a native Titan 12. So I am gonna be probably getting another kayak here in the near future. So no, can't give it a hint at all.
Can't give it.
Yeah. It'll be it'll be in the next month or two. So.
Cool.
That did make me think about something. Something that kind of blew my mind is you were out here like killing it while still paddling for the longest time, right? We lost Russ. Let's see if we can get him back here.
Oh, there he is. Oh, he was back. I can barely hear you. Oh,
I can't hear you.
Oh, you hear me?
There we go.
now we can hear you.
You moved your hand and we could hear you.
Oh, okay. I might have been messing with the cable or something. I don't know.
But yeah, if I remember right, you were out here like killing it while still paddling. You know, no motor, no pedals. You were paddling out here winning these tournaments.
The last Hobie tournament I fished over in Lake Dardanelle in Arkansas, I was paddling in that one, and a lot of people ask, or want to talk about, whether the motors should be allowed or pedaling should be allowed, or if it should just be paddling. I really believe that whether you're pedaling or have an electric motor, there's an area you just got to fish whatever you're using. You just got to use it to your strength. And I think especially going in a lot of like skinny backwaters or areas where there's a lot of grass, and there's a lot of areas where paddling is the best option. So for people that are intimidated by getting into sport, thinking, how am I going to fish against somebody with a Hobie, with a Torpedo, and $8,000 kayak, you don't need, in certain situations it does help, but there's plenty of times where you can be in a smaller kayak and be in it. You can be in a $500 kayak and be in a bigger advantage fishing an area than somebody with an $8,000 kayak. So it can limit you, but I really think a good majority of tournaments, anyways, are won fishing those areas that are totally accessible with a paddle kayak.
I know.
That's awesome.
I have an Outback, and in the river, especially this year, with it being so low and so grassy, I have been paddling that more than I have been pedaling in the river anyway. So
yeah.
I definitely see what you're saying there. It's definitely, there's a time and place. The Hobie does awesome when I'm covering water if it's deep enough, but it definitely doesn't go through grass as good as I can just paddle right over top of it, and so definitely.
Yeah, and that's awesome because there are a lot of people that listen to this segment that are newer to fishing and are newer to kayak fishing, I should say, and pretty much everybody starts out paddling. There's not a whole lot of people that jump out, fork out the money for a pedal drive or anything. So I feel like that's cool for them to hear on here is you can still get out there and do well.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that. Not to say that it is, there's times being offshore, there are times where having those other kayaks could be an advantage, but doesn't mean so having options is nice. And going forward, that's why I had the Titan before, the Titan and the Attack, and it's nice to have boat to fish that deep water stuff, offshore stuff when the wind is blowing. And as a tournament fisherman who's trying to fish at the highest level here, yeah, it's nice to have options there. But so most tournaments can be won in a $500 kayak too. So.
I know one of the things I was thinking of that I like to ask our guests is, what's the best piece of fishing advice you think you've gotten, if you could pick one thing?
Surround yourself with positive people who are going to be helpful in sharing info, and I mean that's what it's all about really when it comes to fishing, is just having meeting friends and enjoying your time in the outdoors. And see a lot of those people in the kayak community are really genuine people who like and appreciate the outdoors and are wanting to in the same meet other kind of like-minded people that are they're going to learn from, and they're going to it's what makes you a better fisherman is having people to bounce ideas off of, and time on the water. But I guess that'd be a good piece of advice.
Cool. No, a lot of people say talk about this community that we have and how awesome it is, and I mean I totally agree. That's one of the things that makes
and
our
get
sport
into
special.
a lot of the local. You don't have to, for people who are kind of new getting into this, you don't have to jump into one of the big Hobie tournaments or Bassmaster or KB. There's plenty of local clubs, and if you're new into in kayak fishing and just getting into it, join a local club, and it's a great way to to start out. Everybody's that I've met is nobody's judgmental. Everybody's really open-minded and willing to have new people share their time with. So so I've been lucky enough to be part of a great club here in Middle Tennessee with KBF Ten, and that's how it's. And from there, I've gotten into more regional and national events, and but that's where it all started, and I'm thankful for all those good friends to kind of introducing me to all this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, man, appreciate you coming on here. Hope to see you at Dale Hollow next month. That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
if y'all are able to
definitely.
make it out there.
Is it 2 days? You say 16th and 17th, or is it 1 day?
All right, it's 16th, 17th, and 18th.
It's a 3-day. Like people are camping out and stuff.
Yeah. We're staying at the marina there. Listeners can reserve a room on the houseboat, $50 a night per person.
Cool.
And that's supposed to get you your own private room and stuff. And then all of us, the hosts and stuff, are going to be staying in a cabin together. And it's going to be a cool time. Richard out there at the marina, he's excited about it. They got a little bar and restaurant there at the marina, and so JL Folks is going to be playing that Saturday night there at the bar. So we'll probably be a bunch of us go down there and maybe have a beer or two and listen to him play.
Awesome.
And it's going to be a fun time. I'm going to have a little tournament on Saturday morning. So
cool.
on
Saturday
a lot of people
morning. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to spread the word and tell a few of my buddies and try to. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm sure a lot of them will be interested in it.
Yeah, but I think we're going to have we are going to have quite a few people because almost every host here at Paddle and Fin's going. I think we got like 11 people coming just with Paddle and Fin, and that's not counting like listeners or anything. So,
dude, that's going to be awesome. Yeah. That sounds like a great time. Awesome. Well, yeah, really thank you guys for letting me come on and talk to you, and really enjoyed it. And also like to thank my sponsors, of course, Pyrod Fishing.
I was about to ask you about that.
Dakota Lithium. They've been with me all year, and it's been a huge part of enabling me to live life on the road here and travel around and do these tournaments. And I'm really grateful for all their support.
How How about any kayak sponsors that might be coming up?
Soon. We're trying. I don't want to jump in the middle of something. I'm kind of waiting until the season's winding down. I don't, especially with the two of the biggest tournaments of the year coming up. I want to make sure I'm using something that I'm comfortable with. But I'm excited for the future and what's to come, and it's gonna be nice, I guess, after and just after this winter having a bit of a break to be able to do some fun fishing, hang out with friends, and do stuff like this. What's going on in Dale Hollow? So it should be fun.
Sweet, man.
Awesome.
What about social media? You want to shout out any social media where people will follow you?
I'm just Instagram and Facebook, both just my name, Rus Snyders, Rus with one S, R-U-S, last name Snyders, S-N-Y-D-E-R-S. Should be able to find me in both of those.
Awesome, man. Well, Russ, thanks again for coming on. I know you've been on some of the other segments, and it's about time we get to steal you from them for once.
So, cool.
Again, thank you. And listeners, definitely give a thought to checking us out at Dale Hollow, see if you can make that event. But thanks again for listening to our podcast. This has been the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment of the Paddle and Fin podcast, bringing you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more limits. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, guys.